Okay, so I wanted to talk about, as a follow-on from the last video I did, we were talking about this shift in perspective, identity, perception that happens to the person when we sit in that space of no thought, of this expansive, kind of contentless, open, infinite peace and silence of existence that we can shift into when we bring our attention away from the mind and allow this space to kind of open up into our experience. I talked about that shift that happens when we realise our true identity, or our bigger identity, our identity beyond the person. An identity that comes before and after the life of the person, that transcends the individual completely. And when we realise that, when we wake up to that, not as a concept in the mind, but as a genuine experience of the way reality is before the person adds all the content, the subsequent insights are really just a deepening or a maturing of this insight. And the inquiry is really just from that space, looking into our direct experience for evidence or lack of evidence of a division between the subject and the object, of a division between separate things, of a division between us, or a separation between us and the rest of reality. I'm really looking into what is this awareness, what is the subject that allows us to experience this world of separate forms and objects. We're deepening and confirming that insight through our direct experience with ever deepening levels of unity, oneness, and that's it. So I'll explain the process as it unfolded for me, and it's like, again, it's not really a process. The process is the person's interpretation of that. But so this initial shift that happened was an undeniable change in the way I perceived reality. I felt like I was coming home, in a sense, waking up, remembering, and everything kind of joined together. There wasn't this searching for something, there was just the being, the awareness there, the sense of oneness and stillness and peace beyond the hyperactivity of the mind. And when something is, so the question then appeared to me, who is it that's watching? Who is it that's perceiving? What is this that we all are that allows us to be? That what is it that's perceiving the world? What is looking out through my eyes, let's say? What's hearing through my ears? What's thinking? What's perceiving the thoughts? Because it wasn't the person anymore. And anything that can be observed or perceived as an object, as a thing, as a something else, or a notice that's there, anything is not it, because it is the one that is the subject, that's the one that's perceiving. And it's just really looking and trying to find this perceiver, this self, this one that experiences. And I was kind of imagining it in my mind as a separate thing, a separate perceiver that watches everything, that observes this experience, and looking, and it's just basically noticing what is an object, what is an appearance, and what is not the appearance, in this world of form. And then there was still that duality there. So is this one that is perceiving the world, this form? There was a separation in my mind, something that was making a distinction that this perceiver is the thing. And going further and further into the direct experience, it couldn't be found, it can't be found. The perceiver, the awareness, that which is aware of the things in this world, can't be perceived, it's not there. And once I kind of realised that I'm never going to find this thing, I'm never going to perceive the perceiver, it led me to this paradox that, and I always talk about paradox, but experiencing the paradox without labelling it, without having it as a concept, experiencing whatever perceives this form, finite, is nothing. It's nothing. It is non-exist. It doesn't exist. In order for this form to exist, there must be the non-existence, the nothingness, the emptiness that perceives it from that point of view. There's that paradox, that duality, bringing it down and down and down into a single point almost. The only thing that's truly infinite is nothing. Is nothingness, is non-existence. The only thing that's truly limitless is nothing. That which perceives the something is nothing. And it's getting down to that unknowable paradox that is us. We are the nothing. I am the nothing. Our true nature is nothingness. Our true nature is empty. Because the perceiver can't perceive itself, because it doesn't exist. And not having to figure out that paradox and relinquishing and releasing that paradox, and because it's unknowable. Like, nothing is unknowable. Yeah, the nothing is unknowable. The nothing isn't something, but it's the nothing that allows everything. And releasing that need to contract and understand that narrative, that need to figure it out, to that search for nothing, letting go of that is when the experiences of non-duality really started to manifest for me, let's say. And I really struggled with trying to figure it out, trying to understand mentally the subtle layer of I'm looking for something, I'm searching as a seeker, I'm seeking this always, and the seeker can only seek something. It can't seek the non-existence of nothing, the emptiness of our true nature. And that's the kind of the limit, let's say. That's the kind of the end of something. And it's kind of like through our direct experience in all walks of life, getting as close as we can to the paradox by letting it go, if that makes any sense. Seeing that there's no division between subject and object, there's no separation between anything. And this is the hard part to explain, because I'm not very good at explaining this, right? Because it's impossible to describe. But this nothingness that is our true nature, when we kind of realize that, experience that. So that's what I meant when I was talking about when I'm perceiving the world, there's nothing there but the infinite, because you see through the illusion. And from that, let's say, perspective, the very fact that there is this apparition, this appearance, this form here, just the very fact that we're perceiving this like this here, it's so mind-blowingly absurd, ridiculous, impossible, incredible, fascinating, beautiful, bizarre, unbelievable, surreal. It's so incredible, every moment, incredible strangeness of and beauty of, and the beauty is in the the mystery, the strangeness of it, the paradox of it. It just is laughable. It's incredible. Every moment is incredible and fascinating. Every moment is a miracle. Every moment is mind-blowing all the time. And I guess that's where the bliss people talk about is, but this is a different thought. It's not like a serene kind of expansive, peaceful space like I was talking about in the last video. This is kind of like an immediate, direct, intimate, experience when we realise that the form is aware of itself. There's no subject here perceiving this thing over there, these things, these forms over here. It's aware of itself. The nothing is the something. The emptiness is in the form. The manifestation is the infinite. There's no separation anywhere, including time. So every moment just melts into itself and gives birth to itself immediately, instantaneously, without any sort of delay. And the way it works is so incredibly fascinating and interesting, captivating, fantastic, that every moment is so mind-blowing that the mind's not there anymore. The mind has been blown up and vanished, because the mind can't even handle this, can't even conceive of this in the slightest. It's beyond mind-blowing, incredible. But yeah, the deepening insight is just the realization of, in more depth and clarity, the realization that there is no separation between anything. in our experience, and this is an appearance, an illusion. And I don't feel like we can truly appreciate this illusion until it basically disappears into the nothing. When this illusion is all we know, the depth of perspective doesn't do it justice, in a sense. So that was what I was meaning when I try and... It's easier for me to describe the what I talked about in the last video. This is more difficult because we're going to a paradoxical... For the mind, it's a paradoxical idea. It can't really be explained. But you're looking for the perceiver. In trying to find the perceiver, we basically eliminate a lot of illusions along the way. And then it gets to the point where, like, for example, I'm looking at this steering wheel here, right, because I'm in my car, and it's so mind-blowing. This is going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but I move my head, and I move, and the steering wheel moves. It sounds so stupid, but the steering wheel moves as well as I move, and I move back and the steering wheel moves. This instantaneous, kind of creepy, bizarre illusion that's manifesting in front of me is absolutely fascinating, because I know that there's nothing there but the infinite, but this form is here. And yes, that sounded ridiculous, but I'm just trying to highlight that the smallest little details in the experience are so like, everything's a miracle, everything's incredible all the time when you really just pay attention, when they're not overlooked. And that's what I mean when I was talking about look for a separation in your visual field. If you close your eyes and you hear, can you perceive a separation in the sounds? If you really listen, are the sounds separate from you? Are you separate from the sounds? Is there really any distance there? When we look, can we perceive anything that presents itself as completely separate from anything else, really, when you look? Or is it all just the one image? What you're looking at, is that separate from you? Because you're the one that's perceiving it? Is it separate from the perceiver? That which is being perceived? Is it separate? Is it a real thing out there? Or is it the perceiver itself? Your thoughts, where are they? Are they in your head? Or are they everywhere? So these kind of strange questions that all of a sudden make complete sense, because we're not this perceiver here in this body. We are everything and nothing at the same time. So I don't know if that made any sense, but it's just a follow-on from the last video. I'm trying to explain how the insight deepens and what it looks like for me, what it looks like. Basically, all we're doing is we're investigating the perceiver, the watcher, this presence, this awareness that watches this world. And we're trying to see, is it separate or is it the one thing? But actually, in our direct experiencing that reality rather than just exploring it as a concept in the mind. And we realised that a huge chunk of our, or all of our experience of reality is just held together by mind concepts. And you can keep going with it. You can just keep going. What is mind? What am I projecting onto the reality from the mind? And what is just there? And before the projections, before the overlay, the seemingly structures an seemingly inherent separate reality. Anyway, that'll do for now. Add this video on to the end, so just thought I'd clarify about what I was talking about, as in moving and seeing an object from here, seeing an object move when I move, because I realised that I'm trying to explain something very almost impossible to explain, but I also sound like a crazy person because I'm trying to convey something and it's not quite, I don't think, clear. But so basically what I'm trying to explain, what I mean is, in my experience, so this phone's balanced on a chair right now. So before, my perception would be, I'm here, I'm looking at this object, so I'm alive, this is a dead object, and I move, and my individual perspective, because I'm moving, this thing here is static, it's not moving, and because of my position when I move round, then it appears to move as a perspective. What I'm trying to explain is that I don't experience things like that anymore. So this object is me, is alive, is completely alive, is completely aware of itself. And I don't experience like me as a separate point here moving. The whole thing moves as one. The whole thing moves as one. So it's like it's moving. It's like the universe is moving. The entire universe is shifting. And I don't know if it's just because of the, let's see, the stage I'm at. I hear other people talk about the realisation of no self, and then afterwards they never experience anything like a division between subject and object, like a person in an environment in a world. That's impossible for them to experience. It doesn't work like that anymore. The point, so my experience now is I don't experience the division. I don't experience the subject object division from that point of view like I did before, but it's still there. Relatively, it's still there. I don't experience it as an I'm a subject, I choose to move this way, and this static thing stays there. The whole universe is moving itself. That's how I experience this. And what seems weird and interesting to me now is the subject-object division. That seems really weird and interesting and cool. Whereas before, from that position, I thought the idea of no self was weird and interesting and cool. Whereas now it fascinates me, just the illusion. The illusion of separation is fascinating. It's so weird, and now that I have a different experience, so I experience everything is alive, communicating with itself. All this form, this illusion, folding in itself, morphing as one, as one that is not separate from the infinite, that is the infinite, as in the infinite and the finite are inseparable. They're like, say, two sides of the same coin, but that's still not a very good way to put it. I just can't describe it. I can't. Anytime I try and describe it, it falls short by so much. But maybe it's just the stage I'm at, because maybe the insight will deepen, and then all of what I'm experiencing, the experiences I'm having there will fall away. But a very interesting experience right now, because everything seems fascinating. Anything that I look at or hear or perceive is the entire universe, as one movement, one infinite kind of, not as in linear time, one kind of morphing in on itself, changing, the time eating itself and giving birth to itself. It sounds ridiculous, it sounds over the top, but it's so natural, so normal, just the way things are anyway. But for some reason at this point in time, there's something about it I find fascinating, something about the illusion, something about participating in the illusion that I find fascinating and cool and interesting as well. And I can function from and perceive myself as an individual to an extent, but it's merged with the universe. It's not like I have no access to the subject-object dynamic anymore. It's like that whole thing's become merged with the universe. It's not a relevant position anymore to live life from, although it's still there. So again, it's very difficult to describe. Yeah, but I just thought I would clarify that, because it does sound like I'm a crazy person sometimes, the way I talk about things, but that's why I always say, until you go into your direct experience and let go of these structures that are separating everything, until you do that and let it all go and it all merges in as one and disappears, then it's impossible to try and convey that to say, for example, someone who's still heavily identified with the egoic self. Yeah, it's kind of like, I would describe it as in like being trapped in an illusion, and being confined into a kind of dream box. I don't know how to describe it. It's, the sense of freedom comes from, we're just allowing the universe to move, or to morph, to express. We're just allowing that. It's just letting that go. It's not like we are looking for this insight that's going to give us something. We're just allowing. And that letting go of those structures that we form to keep ourselves safe and keep ourselves subscribed to the illusion. The stressful kind of patterns, when we let them go, that's all it is. It's so simple. It's so simple. And all the weird things that you hear people describe, and myself describe, in terms of our experience, it can't be put into words, because it's just what's here. It's like me trying to it's like me trying to describe the sky. Say you'd never seen the sky before, and you were trying to describe it to someone, and you just like look up, and they can't look up for some reason, and then maybe they do look up a little bit, and then go, oh, I see what you mean, and then never look at the sky again. That's kind of what I was like before. The glimpses of this that's right there, and then the searching for the sky. All you need to do is just look up. It's right there all the time. It's always accessible. Whereas we're on this kind of this search for something that's just right there, and it's so simple. Anyway, that's almost 10 minutes now, so I just wanted to give some context to what I was talking about there.